Raz, dwa, raz, raz, dwa, raz, dwa, 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 raz. Dwa, 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 raz, raz, dwa, raz, raz, dwa, raz. Raz, dwa, raz, raz, dwa, raz. Na, na, na. We doing Twitch chat. Alright. So actually I'm going to change the title of the stream as Adventures of the Forgotten Realms. Of Forgotten Realms? I think of the Adventures in there. Modern set review. Down. We're going to be talking about the cards in the set, you know, all that jazz. I'm gonna be talking about Huel sponsoring my stream, but only a little bit because mostly about magic cards. Adventures in Forgotten Realms set review. First. Hello everyone. Hello to everyone who has showed up in this stream the first. Also, I'm in KCI, but actually I think I have a better place I could be doing this review from. Let's Google a dungeon. Dungeon van Darkholm. Also getting pictures of Van rather than pictures of his dungeon. Right, googling the phrase sex dungeon seems to work. Dungeon Master. And then gonna review the dungeon themed set from a dungeon, which is gonna be pretty good. I think pretty comical overall. Excuse me. Oh, now it's supposed to work. Hot take. Demilik is nearly unplayable in modern. Yeah, I think it is. Substitute your head in Demilik. Oh, that's actually maybe even better than the dungeon. It's kind of hard to grasp though. Broke it again. Come on. Alright, now we're in a dungeon. So with that out of the way, we can start the set review and we can talk about the cards. This time, Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, the D&D themed set. I have decided to not do the usual thing where I go over all the mythics and all the rares, as I have deemed that highly unnecessary. Adventures in the Forgotten Realms seems to be a very low power set. It is replacing a core set after all, and it does seem like it's going to have minor impact over modern, and for that reason I didn't really want to spend ages on every shit card that's going to be present that's asking me to, you know, roll a dice and do something slightly meaningless every single time I get a certain amount. Did they even create a Dungeon Master card in the set? No. But yeah, thematically we are streaming from a dungeon. You know, so I am kind of taking a role of the Dungeon Master, talking about the cards, right? Once again, I'll do the set review thing. I'll have the file, the spreadsheet in the Discord available for subscribers if somebody's going to be interested in that, and we're gonna have that archived here. So hopefully it's gonna be interesting, or not. All right. Yeah, throughout my initial process of choosing cards to talk about, I have narrowed the set down to 28 cards that are worth mentioning for modern. So, without further ado, can you fit your whole arm in the set review? Ingenious Smith, 1 white creature, human artificer. When ETBs look at the top 4, you may reveal an artifact put into your hand. Whenever one or more artifacts ETBs under your control, put a counter on Ingenious Smith. This ability triggers only once each turn. 1-1. Human Artificer. Alright. Ingenious Smith is Glint Nest Crane, which is not a card that is exactly known for being super playable, but is a card that is known for like seeing play previously. Smith is a more aggressive variation of this effect, although while the Ingenious Smith could almost be there as a card that's fairly interesting for archetypes like maybe Hammer, maybe something with the cookbook, etc. Maybe some artifact aggro, maybe like something in modern in general. The additional clause on the second ability of Ingenious Smith triggers only once each turn means that this very safe design is very unlikely to break. If we had a 2-mana card that could easily be like a 3/3/4 for 5/5 and grow even bigger in a span of a few turns with Mishra's Bubbles, etc., we would have a kind of a PogChamp card. As it is, it's gonna be 2/2, then a 3/3. In theory, you can grow it on your opponent's turn, so it actually kinda combines with Underworld Cookbook, for example, combo, where you can grow it once on your opponent's turn. But as it is, for modern, the design seems a bit too safe to actually be meaningful, and it's not gonna be outcompeting much. So more of a card that I wanted to bring up because it was almost there, but then I kinda, you know, if it was in Eldraine, we would get 2 counters and per every artifact on every turn. So I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5 because it's trying. Although I really expect to see no real play. And in the notes you're gonna say that it's killed by the overly sensitive restriction. At least in modern, like in standard, it's probably like not a very poke card in standard too, because it's you know, like standard is standard, like you probably want to Bunker Giants or better cards in general. Is there a subscriber only spreadsheet for you to view? There is, yeah. I guess I can link it in the Discord already. Yeah, uploaded. Yeah, it's not really all that bad against Bone Crusher. That's true. It's bad because it's gonna be hard to have synergy in standard because they only make, you know, synergy between removals and card advantage nowadays. Plausible 4. Alright, should be fixed now. Alright, access granted. So let's move on to the next card that we're going to be requesting. Guardian of Faith, 1 white, creature, spirit, knight, flash, vigilance. When ETBs, any number of target creatures you control, other target creatures you control, phase out. 3/2. So I was trying to think of uses for phasing out your own creatures, and I think there isn't many besides just protecting from removal, chat. Is there anything that you can come up with? If your opponent is casting a Wrath of God, you can flash it in and then protect all of your creatures. If your opponent is casting a single spot removal, you can just face a single card and then it's also gonna be fine. Blocking, yeah, you could like you could chum block and then phase out your chum blockers so that you could save some life. So in general, phasing your own creatures is much less potent than Ghostwing your own creatures, right? It is nowhere close. Right, that's like not close to being the same thing. You can skip your end phase if there is a trigger that would kill you. I'm not sure if I understand what you're trying to say correctly. You get to phase out your creatures, but phase out is better with tokens. Okay, yeah, so the upside of over Ghostway is that you get to protect your Ghostway type effects specifically, is that you get to keep your tokens, yeah, tokens, auras, equipment, counters, etc, etc. Does it get around the evoke or the MH2 elementals? That's actually a good question, chat. If I phase out an evoked elemental, do I get to keep the elemental? I think you do get to keep the elemental because the trigger resolves and then you treat the elemental as within Nexus, so it can be sacrificed. And then it's all okay. And you have your Solitude, which is PogChamp. So overall, in Modern, you're not interested in playing a 3-mana River Protection creature. You can play, you know, cards to do that at 2 mana, or you can play more potent 3-drops. So given that there is actually very little that this card does, just protects from the removals, I'm gonna give it 1 to 5 full canisters for not even trying. Walks of Wuro, poggers. Next card in the set, Loyal Warhound, 1 white, creature dog, vigilance, ETB. If an opponent controls more lands than you, search your library for a basic plains. Put it into the battlefield. Thank you for the subs, guys. Also, somebody asked me if those are new glasses. Yes, those are new glasses. I acquired new glasses. And I do feel a bit weird in them because I do have astigmatism in my eyes, and I used to not have an astigmatic lens, cylinder lens in one of my eyes, and now I do have it in both of my eyes, and it feels pretty dank. TBH, I am getting used to them. So Knight of White Orchid was actually like pretty potent card in Standard when it was the last time with Origins. I don't remember if it was a potent card in Shards of Alara. Like you're going to see like an odd Knight of the White Orchid in some like meme modern decks. Like Border Paws, that's some kind of pretty bullshit strategy, but Warhound could be a decent actually effect in standard because 2-drop fetches for a planes. Decent body that does attack. It's not terrible. So I'm going to give it 2 out of 5. And I'm going to say that looks mostly like a standard card to me. So even though it is a modern review, then you know. Overall, like it's mostly just a reprint of the same card, like you know, 1 more power, 1 less toughness, vigilance in the first track, and just basic planes over any plane. So it's like slightly worse, but also not white. So actually probably slightly better overall because of the not white cost. Although like the white cost versus like regular planes, kind of same thing. Where are you now? In a dungeon. Monk of the Open Hand. White mana. Creature Elf Monka S. Flurry of Blows. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a counter on Monk of the Open Hand. +1/+1. Card is a little bit interesting because it is a 1-drop creature that is kinda like a prowess creature. Although the counters stay on it instead of going, and it's just a 1 mana card. On the other hand, it does grow at a slower pace, and it requires to really be played on turn 1 to make much sense in your draw. Like an ideal opening would be Monk of the Open Hand into Mishra's Bubble, get a counter, then you attack basic 3/3 on the turn 2, then you have a 4/4 on turn 3. That does require a few. Thank you for the sub. I can't now. I will review the cards as I see fit. Because like reviewing them in context of Amulet Titan is kind of narrow. The Monk of the Open Hand is kind of like Prowess 1-drop, although for the most part in Modern it seems inferior to me to Lumimancer, and it also does seem inferior to me to other 1-drops that are played in other colors. For example, like Red has so many strong 1-drops right now that splashing for 1-drops of other colors seems absolutely unnecessary. Also, you can get it with Grandmaster of Flowers, Pog. Ooh. So Monk of the Open Hand is gonna get 2 out of 5 from me for trying in standard. It's pretty unplayable probably because like how are you supposed to cast 2 spells per turn in standard? Like more than once per game, right? Didn't get 4 plus so far. No. Oswald Fiddlebender. I read it in a moment. Just give me a few seconds. I was expecting the beauty of the half-walk cancer mode. That's going to be next time. Next set. Okay, so Oswald Fiddlebender. One white legendary creature, a gnome artificer. White tap second artifact, search your library for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1 plus sacrifice artifact's mana value, put it on the battlefield and shuffle, activate only as a sorcery. Oh, do we have any ideas? What could we birth in pod artifact wise? Okay, 2 mana 2/2 with like an upside like this seems actually pretty cool. As you know, it's like really reasonably low opportunity cost to have a deck like this on a creature. It's your background from Sex Dungeons and Dragons. It is a sex dungeon because I am in a dungeon. 1/4 blue untapper. True. Sex target station. Mirror and falls into Craterhoof. Yeah, that's something. Wooden to Underworld Cookbook. Yeah, there is some ideas as to how to use it. None of them really like seem all that exciting, all that poggers to actually put Oswald Fiddlebender in the deck. The 1/4 untapper. What's the name of it? Fort Corridor? Corridor Vidor? Craterhoof's an artifact. You get me good. This will be the rare you opened at pre-release, yeah, probably. Okay, so Corridor Monitor, we could pod into it, untap it, and pod it in again. We could pod into Hammer. Voltaiki. As far as Elbroco, but I don't know how to use it. I think it's kind of not Elbroco because, you know, it is still like a card that does require untapping, and then like even if you will untap, then unless you think of some kind of a combo that wins or achieves incredible advantage immediately when it untaps, it's gonna be pretty hard. But there is some potential for such a combo to show up at some point. Like the pod effect is pretty strong, and having that on a 2 mana creature, that's actually pretty okay. So we're gonna give it 3 out of 5 because it is Oswald Fiddlebender seems vastly better than most of the other cards that I have observed it. Something into monitor into scrap throw something. Yeah, exactly. What is it like? There's actually something that to look for with this card. Alright, new one. Hello Cancer, just played a League with your Amulet Harvest deck from your YouTube channel. I had 3 Amulet and just wanted to attack with 3 Hasty Titans and realized the list does not have Unaware Battlements. It was fairly frustrating. For the sake of your YouTube viewers, please fix the list. Okay, I'm going to add the Unaware Lancer to the list. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I can just upload the deck somewhere else. What other websites do people use for that? Maybe cards something. What's the name of this? Card bot. Card. I don't remember. MG Goldfish. Yeah, it is pretty lame that, you know, not the first person to say that also, like, especially since it is a 61-14 deck. Very unfortunate. Let's fix that now. Alright, it is now fixed. And you're not going to you're not going to play any more games without Anwars. Paladin class, white mana. Gain the next level as sorcery to add its ability. Spells first, base ability. Spells your opponents cast during your turn cost 1 more to cast. Alright, that's kinda not much, but it's fine. Can be helpful in some cases. Level 2, 3 mana. Creatures you control get +1/+1. 5 mana level 3. Whenever you attack, until end of turn, target attacking creature gets +1/+1 for each other attacking creature and gains double strike. Pretty interesting variant of Glorious Anthem, but with some extra texts, extra abilities thrown on it. Mainly the base ability that you know, ups your opponent's cost of things. That is a bit weird that like maybe those two effects don't go too well together, although they kind of do well. Okay, do go well. It's pretty okay if like your opponent is forced to play at sorcery speed and you're playing creatures and you can pump your creatures in some ways, etc. Especially with the level 3 ability. Level 3 ability matters barely. Level 1 matters a little bit. Level 2 I think is the main ability of this card. This is like still more expensive than a Glorious Anthem, so it's kinda probably not POG enough because you're still playing 4 mana for such an effect, and might be that people don't want to play Glorious Anthems in 2021 in general. So I'm going to give it 2 out of 5 for being slightly interesting. That doesn't strike me as insane card. Also, it's mostly standard rather than modern, I think, if it's playable. Next card is Portable Hall. White mana artifact, ETB, exile target non-permanent opponent controls with mana value 2 or less until Portable Hall leaves the battlefield. They fall for it every time. Card was spoiled ages ago. It was actually kind of interesting, but for modern now, it is a worse version of Prismatic Ending for the most part. The artifact type is both an upside and an downside. If you can synergize with Portable Hall being an artifact, obviously you're probably going to choose to play Portable Hall. The gnome boy can get portable, that is true. For example, that the gnome can be fetched by Urza's Saga. Actually can't, because it doesn't cost 0 or 1. It does cost white, which is different. So for modern, I see very little reason to play Portable Hall over Prismatic Ending. One way to play Portable Hall over Prismatic Ending would be if I were to play with Whir of Invention, for example. Having a Whir of Inventionable Whir of Inventionable cards that I can grab with the Whir and exile a Rest in Peace or Sonic Silence. That's actually kind of poggers, because typically you'd be pretty weak to those effects with an artifact based deck, so being able to tutor something with Whir against it, pretty okay. Previously we only really had Spine of Disa. That's really big increase in the cost. Mirror Breaker and Affinity Mirrors. Well, it's a removal in Affinity Mirrors. I don't know if the mirror is fully broken by a few removal spells, but maybe this. So I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 Walk Canisters. Could give it 4, but not. I necessarily don't like the color hate cards. I don't. I might need to read through them again to see if I actually don't like them, because it might be that I could still review them. Divine Smite. One black target creature planeswalker on opponent's control phases out. If it's black, exiled instead. Yeah, in standard, but as you can read the title, and it says modern review, so. And with that, we are done with the white cards, and let's talk about blue cards. As I was saying, this is a modern set review, which is why I'm actually going to say something about a card that's actually a standard card at best. Contract, Other Plane, 3 blue, instant, roll a d20. 45% draw 2 cards, 50% scry 2 then draw 2 cards, 5% scry 3 then draw 3 cards. This is actually, this card is very poggers if you hit the 5%er. And it is like the classic Glimmer of Genius variant, which is like somewhat playable in standards, more or less. Right now it's the 5% chance to be better than Behold the Multiverse, while also being worse than it 45% of the time, pretty significantly. Does not really, you know, so that means that 40% of the time you're worse. So it would need to be really much better that 5% of the time to outweigh that, plus also you need to beat the fact that it can be $4. So it's actually kind of sucks. I think this card would be good if you owned a weighted D20. I think this card will be very good. Would it be? I think it will be quite good at scry 3, draw 3. Certainly it would be in standard, it would be draw a lot of cards. So it's actually probably going to C0 play because it's always going to be chosen to play Behold the Multiverse in standard and other formats. It's not gonna, wouldn't have seen play. So actually I'm gonna give it 1. Nothing says a D20 can just have all size 20s. That's true. Demilich. Blue, 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 blue. No, I said too much. Blue, 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 blue. Yeah, blue, 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 blue. Creature, skeleton wizard. Costs blueless to cast for each instant sorcery spell if cast this turn. It attacks when it attacks, exile instant sorcery from a graveyard and cast it. You may cast the Demilich from your graveyard by exiling 4 cards and or sorcery 4 instant or sorcery cards from your graveyard addition to paying its other costs. So Demilich, but Demi what? Is a half lich, but what is the other half of this card? That is something that I would like to know. I don't really know. For a prerequisite of being a skeleton was being made of bones, SMH. Yeah, that is also kind of true. It is a skull which is a part of your skeleton, so Demilich means it's basically half god. Well, but how do you know that the the other half part is a god part? That doesn't really get inferred from the name. Despite the name, a Demilich was not a lesser lich, but rather a lich who had evolved beyond the need for its innate body. It means he's half a lich. Yeah, but half what? Half lich, half what? What else? That's why Demilich, he has half of the body. Oh! Half Dungeon Master. Demi doesn't always mean half, Demi can also means partially or in an inferior degree. Right, doesn't matter. So regular cost blue blue blue, costs blue less to cast for each sorcery spell you've cast. So if you cast 2 spells, it's just blue blue. But that means you've cast 2 spells. Let's say if those were Lightning Bolt and Metamorphose, then you could have had 3 mana and played a Demilich. It is still a lightning bolt dying creature that requires some hooves to jump through. To cast, which only gives you value when it's being played. When you end up with it and you get to attack and cast something. It is kind of a prowess card, like prowess type card, like like many of the cards synergizing with your deck being mono spells and then a few threats, and it does produce card advantage when you attack with it, and does produce card advantage by recasting it from the graveyard. It is not the easiest to recast it from the graveyard, although you can just cast it for blue if your graveyard is full. So you've actually got like some options to play this card. You can like play 4 spells, play it for free. You can just pay the full cost. Having that flexibility seems pretty important. Doesn't come with Urza's Bubble, literally unplayable. It does not combine with Urza's Bubble, that is true. It does have some pretty tough competition in Modern right now. Plays in the blue-red list and mill it with Channeler. Yeah, that's like kind of poggers actually, that you could mill it with Channeler. The big problem with the Demilik is that it does compete the most with the Delve card, right? Because playing this together with the Delve card seems like really not something that can be supported well. So choosing out of those two, you're probably going to choose a creature that doesn't die to removals rather than the one that does die to removals, given that you're never going to be casting the Demilik all that early in the game. It's not like absolutely unplayable. I give it 3 out of 5 for Modern. It can be a free spell, so like, free spells can be broken. It does do stuff. It does die to bolt, though. It can be hard to cast. I can give it a 4. It's kind of closer. It's pretty clearly better than everything else in the set, so it's gonna give it 4. Alright, let's give it 4. I look at the card and only thing I can think of the Milik would be a great Croatian full-border namer. Okay. Go to 5? No, it's clearly not a 5. To me. Tasha's Hideous Laughter, 1 blue sorcery. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their deck until that player has exiled cards with total mana value 20 or more. Rogues is happy with this card. Rogues? Standard? Yeah, total mana value 20 or more. It's an interesting mill card because it does mill cards. It does exile cards, which many mill cards do not do, which means that it's naturally pretty... It's actually not like, it's not naturally all that great against Eldrazi Titans. Like, if you're playing boards in Emrakul, Aeon Storm, it does have a CMC of 15, so you do exile a kind of a limited amount of things. But, well, if you hit the Emrakul late, like, you kind of exile until you hit the Emrakul. I'm not sure what are the, like, full total. Total amount of CMCs that people have in decks, but the Lurus decks, for example, like let's grab a let's go here and let's go black, red, and let's count the total CMC of a deck. For 8, 12, 20, 26, 30, 34, 35, 38, 41, 43, plus 6, 39. Yeah, a deck like this has a total CMC of 49. So if you exile like 20, that could actually be so much. There's also the other side of the coin, because you're also gonna have, you know, cards like Storming Entity or Murktide Regents. Or Bedlam Rebels, whatever. No, these types of cards do exist in decks and are played in decks, but it has a very high like chance of. It seems like it has a potential of milling a lot of cards. For 3 mana. And it does exile to help you fight through Eldrazi Titans and Gaia's Blessings out of the sideboard, which is like something that Mill appreciates greatly because it's always like super weak to that, and having Tasha's hideous laughter to be able to just like not fully invalidate, because again still the mana value cap does hit you. They reveal an Emrakul to it and they mill less, but it does help you against those cards. So I think it's actually pretty big card for Mill, pretty potentially potent card for Mill that can hit people really hard. You could see this as a sideboard card in Vintage. Yes, Whooms. I wonder what's the average CMC in Modern in general. But if you look at the Amulet Titan deck, it also has a pretty low total CMC. Motenby Canister, that would be 1, 7, 12, 1, 7, 12, 19, 24, 12, 4, 43, 47, 55. It's a total CMC of 60 in the entire Amulet Titan deck, and like there's has so many lands where like whenever you hit the lands, it's so much. So the entire deck costing 60, and this milling 20 cards. Can hit all 4 Titans with 1 card per. Yeah, that's not really a relevant part of the card. Does this card work with the Serum Antibot the way I think it does? I don't know. What do you think? How am I supposed to know? What do you think? So I'm actually gonna give 4 out of 5 to Tasha's Hideous Laughter. It seems, I don't know, pretty scary potentially for a mill card. Thing is, Titan's relevant. You might just get Elder Windcons against with this. No, it's not really relevant. You can also not hit Elder Windcons with this. Like it's as relevant as this with any mill card. Like there is a chance that you're going to mill all the titans, but it's not really important. You're gonna like this effect of milling doesn't make it more particularly more likely for that to happen, because it like you just think of it as that random that mills random cards, random amount of cards. It is likely going to actually get, I mean, I guess it is likely to get a titan. It's actually not likely to get multi-titans because they have the high cost and they actually clog the thing. The thing that is weak to is like the Delve cards, Morte Regent, costing 7 out of a deck, out of a deck that is really cheap otherwise. Bit awkward, but I think Hideous Laughter is quite poggers. I would use As Finisher and Control, who needs creatures with this. I mean, I guess you could also use Planeswalkers, that's probably better, right? Find a Villain's Lair, 1 blue instant, counter spell, draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. This is, you know, is this Faithless Looting? With an option of also being a counter spell? Kinda. But also, is it Archmage's Charm, which instead of letting you draw 2 cards, it also asks you to discard 2 cards and also doesn't have the third mode? Kinda. So yeah, I mean sometimes it's hard to discard cards, and an instant speed way to discard cards if you're like really looking to ditch something into your graveyard is not super useless, and like secondary option of actually being a cancel is kind of interesting, so I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5. It's not a fair card, so it's really going to find home. Prismatic Command is way better than this, yeah, and we know how bad Prismatic Command is, so not super much. Not very progress of you find the Villain's Lair in general. Shouldn't have been choose one. All this. Power word kill, 1 black, instant, destroy target non-angel, non-demon, non-devil, non-dragon. Team 1111111, thank you for the sub. Power word kill, non-angel, non-demon, non-devil, non-dragon creature. In modern, you'd like to play removals like this if they hit some things that your smaller removals don't hit. So if something is gonna have either 7 toughness or CMC of 5 plus, or like both, or something like that, or if it hits Planeswalkers. But the limitation of this one is kind of awkward with the new deck being in modern being blue-red with multi-dragon, kind of awkward. It does kill elementals, which is a big upside, because if it wouldn't kill elementals, that would be very non-poggers. And in standard, it's gonna be the removal spell, so I mean, I don't know, let's give it 3 out of 5 for standard. Because I think Heartless Act's gonna rotate, the Eliminate's gonna rotate, so eventually it's gonna be the removal spell that people play, and like dragons, devils, and angels, and faceless havens are gonna be very poggers. Goldspan does not rotate. Sure, I mean, Eliminate does rotate, like, you know, people play Eliminate to have removal on 2 mana, and that didn't kill Goldspan either. Heartless Act is far better than this, yeah, it also rotates. Honest review 3 out of 5 for standard, yeah, it's kind of a lie. Acererac the Arc Lich, as opposed to being a Demi Lich, it's an Arc Lich, which I don't know if it's better or worse. 3 mana, creature zombie wizard. When ETBs, if you haven't complete Tomb of Annihilation, return to hand and venture into a dungeon. When attacks, for each opponent, create a zombie. Unless the player sacrifices a creature, 5/5. So, can we pull up a dungeon? They don't have the dungeons on rifle. There's one dungeon. Alright, got it. So it asks you to complete Tomb of Annihilation so you can play it for real. But the trick here is not to play Tomb of Annihilation. Tomb of Annihilation says each player loses 1 life, then you like discard a card, sack an artifact, a creature, and a land. And then you get to the Cradle of Death card, you get a 4/4 Athrop, and then you can play Acererac too, or you can go the other way, and it's longer. The trick though is to not go with this one. The trick is to go Lost Mine of Phandelver. And go scry 1, create a treasure token, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life, draw a card. In that order. And if you have a way to cast Acererac for free, it's going to return itself to your hand for free, because that's the ability on the card. So if you wanted to play Acererac the Arc Lich in Constructed, it's for a combo. So you just go into Lost Mine of Phandelver over and over and over. You have to complete a specific dungeon, right? Well, you have to complete a specific dungeon for Acererac to stay on the battlefield, but you actually don't want to do that. You actually want Acererac to return to your hand over and over, so that you can go through a dungeon that drains your opponent 20 times. So you can use either Rooftop Storm, which lets you cast it for 0 mana, which is a 6 mana enchantment. Kinda expensive, but then Rooftop Storm and then Acererac in hand is an infinite combo that's just gonna drain your opponent for 1. It's gonna give you like probably everything too. You draw cards with the dungeon too, you can make treasures, tokens, etc, etc. So you like win in 7,000 ways. And in Legacy, which it's probably very annoying to do an MTGO. Yeah, you're gonna need to cast like the Thunderbird dungeon is quite lengthy, so you might need to cast it 100 times. And with Aluren, it's also an automatic win, just like Aluren plus Acererac, just like cast, and you win. Fair usage is gonna be 1 out of 5. Combo usage is gonna be 2 out of 5 because on average it's gonna be 2 out of 5 because nobody's gonna be caring about the fair usage. So maybe there is some other way to cast it for free repeatedly, but I think probably not. Could also use Heartless Summoning to cast him for only 1 black. Well, but then you don't have an infinite combo. You can still kill it with Winston Speed Removal to break the combo. Yeah, well, I know. They can also interact with your other combos with unit. You can also use a counter spell to counter your combo. It is a combo though. Flame School, 1 red, flying, can't block, 3/1, skeleton. Interesting, that's just a school. Yet it's a skeleton. Rejuvenation, when it dies, exile it. If you do, exile the top card of your deck. Until the end of your next turn, you may play one of those exiled cards. Noob question, do you get to choose the dungeon you want to explore every time? Yes. Will be Vetras Elemental Skeleton? Obviously. I once again ask you why the school flies but the other one doesn't. I don't know. So, 3 mana, kinda resistant to removal, flyer in red. Kinda weird, like that's a 3 mana, 3/1 flyer skeleton in red, but whatever. This is flavorful because if the Flame School is destroyed, it regains all of its hit points in 1 hour. Unless Holy Water is sprinkled and remains, or if this spell, magic, or remove curse spell is cast on them, yeah. Obosh card, yeah, this is certainly a card M. Hayashi could put in his deck. Is this kind of aggressive and does grinds stupidly. Better than Hammer of Bogardan, seems like, but who knows. Like for the most part, if you kill it, you can recast it. That's what you would like to do with it. It's probably more of a standard card. It like might be preferable in some situations as a resilient threat. For 3 mana, that's not easily killable. That lets you keep pressure on your opponent. Flying's really nice. I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5. Overall, kinda lame. It's pretty inefficient for modern. It's too inefficient unless you're M. Hayashi. Thank you, Power Pete, for subscribing to my channel. Hobgoblin Bandit Lord, 1 red. Other hobgoblins you control +1/+1. Red tap Goblin Bandit Lord deals damage equal to the number of hobgoblins that enter the battlefield under your control this turn to any target. 2/3. Goblin Lord, pretty nice. You can play it in Moxes in Historic, probably, if you'd prefer to get you some interaction for that deck. Played in stand in Modern. There's actually isn't any lords for goblins, right? Like what's the goblin lords? Is it just Goblin King? Is there any other good one? Chieftain. Oh yeah, Chieftain is occasionally played. Goblin Chieftain is occasionally played in the Modern Goblin. It's probably better being hasty and something like this. Because it doesn't really have like an immediate impact, but it's not. It gives you removal. Hobgoblins are larger, stronger, smarter, and more menacing forms of goblinoids than goblin, but not as powerful as bugbears. Interesting. Yeah, haste is OP in general, doesn't have haste, although it does combine well with other hasty lords, so. Also hits any target, so in History Goblins, it actually does kind of combine with Krenko. Because Krenko is gonna make a lot of goblins enter the battlefield, and then you're gonna hit for a lot. You can hit phase 2, so give it 2 out of 5 for trying, and maybe you're going to see it in some goblin decks. I'll show about Modern. Yeah, so then to play Goblin Matrons, you could grab it when you need. Yeah. It's like a pretty decent one. Wish. 2 red sorcery. You may play a card you own from outside the game this turn. Pretty interesting wish, as most wishes, like most wishes have a limitation on the type of a card that they can grab. This doesn't. This grabs anything. Wish is the mightiest spell a mortal creature can cast. By simply speaking aloud, you can alter the very foundations of reality in accord with your desires. Very interesting. So, being able to grab anything of any type, even land, play immediately is pretty cool. On the other hand, you need to have some combinations ready so that you can actually play the card immediately, because if you can't, then it doesn't work. For example, I don't know, be it Fires of Invention or Rituals with a lot of mana to play the card immediately, as you cannot wait on it. Not being able to wait is a pretty big downside, but yeah, being able to grab a card immediately is a pretty nice upside. So overall, it's, I would say it's like probably on par with like a Fae of Wishes. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5. Maybe slightly weaker than Fae of Wishes type effect. Is this good in Storm? I mean, it could be. I don't know what you'd be wishing for. You can actually just have kind of a real sideboard, because you are not limited by the types, so you can just have access to your sideboard cards in Storm in game 1. Then forgo, get a land, play a land, pass. Lol. That is the fail case, but it's not the worst fail case. Like, we probably would need to, I don't know. You have a pass and flames in your Storm deck sideboard. Wish is the ability of companions. Yeah, any card on your deck can be a companion. Any card in your sideboard, rather. And we're done with red cards. Druid class. 1 blue. When I land ETBs, you gain 1 life. Level 2. 3 mana. You may play an extra land on each of your turns. Level 3. 5 mana. When becomes class 3. Level 3. Target land becomes... Target land you control becomes a creature with haste and power equal to the amount of lands you control. This is almost not terrible. But it's a bit expensive. If on level 2 those level 1's abilities still apply, I assume so, yeah. So you need to pay 2 mana up front, and then you need to pay 3 mana again, then you have an exploration effect. Exploration effects are quite poggers. If this costed 1 less mana to cast and maybe 1 less mana to level, which would be 2 mana less overall, then I would be actually excited to play this in Amulet Titan. But as it is, I'm kinda not excited and I won't play it. Although it does, like, give you an exploration, gives you some extra lives, which would be also useful in Amulet to, you know, be able to gain 5 extra life throughout the game, whatever. And then target land you control becomes a creature with yada yada. That means that your land is quite a real threat, which is pretty good for a ramp card, helping card to be able to produce a threat. That's a nice flexibility. As it is, unfortunately, I think it's too expensive. Like, I'm not gonna unironically play it in Amulet to play for 2 mana, but then also level it on 3, so in younger formats, you're not gonna benefit from being able to play 2 lands per turn most of the time, because you won't have the cards. So I'm gonna give it 2 out of 5. Not trying, but failing. Kinda a bit safe. Could have been less safe, and then I would have played with it, but now, as it is, I am not gonna play with it because it's safe. Thanks. EDH staple, what? Please do not bring this up here. Prosperous Innkeeper, 1 green creature, halfling citizen. When ETB create a treasure token, whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, you gain 1 life. 1/1. Discard. Interesting because it does produce a game object, and game objects are pretty cool to produce. On top of that, we get a 2 mana 1/1 life gain sister effect, which is interesting too, although pretty hard to utilize. If it would have gained you a life whenever you made an object, I think this, whenever you make an artifact too, I think this would have been pretty progress actually, and I would be excited. As it is, it's like, it's something, it's sure, okay, it makes an object, like maybe I'll try to put it in the deck, but I doubt it for the most part. But it could be almost there. Why does the Innkeeper give me money? That's a very good question. So, 3 tame cards, 2 out of 5. Would be excited about this if this gave you life for artifacts, because then I think it would be actually combining greatly with this, because it would just give you so much life potentially. As it is, it doesn't. New 6 dungeon, yeah. Wild shape, green instant, choose 1. Take your control until the end of turn, becomes that. 1/3 turtle with hexproof, 1/5 spider of reach, 3/3 elephant of trample. So I've heard people mentioning here, I would like to try this card in Infect, which it does make sense to me. Infect plays pump spells. This is a pump spell. We've got the option to give hexproof to something or to grow to something, especially since becoming an elephant means that your creature has now trample, which seems like a very valuable ability to put on the Glistener Elf. Sometimes it is troublesome to punch for creatures, and this could also help you a bit. Combo of Devoted Druid. Yeah, that's actually interesting. You could use it with Devoted Druid to get a lot of extra mana, because you could make it into a 1/5 spider, and then you go pow 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 plus 4 mana, so it's plus 3 mana from a card that's also a hexproof effect for a druid. So yeah, the turtle and hexproof so has some uses. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a problem, namely the main infect card actually also alters your creature's base stats, so it doesn't really work with the wild shape, which means that you want to play the wild shape a bit less. It's a bit better than the other cards I reviewed, so I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5, I guess. But it is nowhere near being super exciting, I think. But the flexibility, nice, pretty nice pump spell, but still keeps infect though, I mean trample. It does keep trample, yeah, still. So by versus removal. I mean, I know how the infect decks works, or not. It actually is good versus removal, you just make it into a turtle. And it has hexproof, right? No opinion on Ochre Jelly. Let's see. X green trample Ochre Jelly enters with with X counters. When dice if it had 2 or more counters on it, create a token as a copy of it and stuff. Yeah, Okro Jelly gets 1 out of 5 all cancers for constructed. I don't know, maybe 1.5. Bard class, Gruul mana. Legendary creatures you control enter the battlefield with an additional +1/+1 counter on them. Red green level 2. Legendary spells you cast cost 2 less spell to cast, red green less to cast. Level 3. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, exile top 2 cards from library, you may play them this turn. Okay, chat. So, what legendaries can we cast for red green? That's gonna get reduced meaningfully by a Bard class. There is Rain 6 with the exact cost enters for 0. There is Omnath. There's Clotis. You only want creatures, so you get an extra counter. It's not maybe not that super important. Yeah, Niv Mizzet sounds actually kinda interesting. Casting Niv Mizzet for free as per mana. It does require you to play Bard class on 2 and then level it up, which means that you actually spend 2 turns doing that, which does kinda suck. Although, if you play Bard class on 2 and you level it up on and play Ren and Clotis immediately, that's actually kinda okay. You also play the Monkey, Targnar, Demon Fang, Null. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a Null. Questing Beast becomes a free drop, that's very true. So it's pretty costly to invest 2 and 2 into that, but maybe you can try it in, I don't know, Niv Magic, Niv Mizzet decks, something like that. Maybe you can try it with some wonky decks. The extra level up is kind of costly, but if you pair it with exactly Omnath, you actually could have spare mana to power into that, 5 mana to get level 3, and then you actually flow your cards better. 3 mana Xenagos. Well, there's a 4 mana Xenagos and a 5 mana Xenagos. Gas of Omnissa for free, that's true. So Bard class giving some cost reduction, which can be pretty meaningful at times actually. I give it 3 out of 5, cost reduction is pretty powerful. How would this work with Asmara Mardikada Sinakul Dakar? Asmara Mardikada Sinakul Dakar doesn't cost those mana to. Or does it? I mean, Asmarana is. I don't know if it reduces the hybrid mana, but I'm not sure whether that is the cost either way. I think it should reduce the cost. Otherwise. Asma has no casting cost, yeah, but you cast her for a cost, right? Even though. Zero minus 0 equals 0, what? So the question is, does reducing by red green reduce the hybrid mana? I think it doesn't, but if it does, I will not be super surprised. Klein, Reclusive Painter, Rakdos, Human Elf Bard, Black Red. ETB create a treasure. Other creatures you control ETB with a national counter for each treasure. Again, game objects 2/5, like slightly different upside and slightly different colors, whatever. Toughness. The upside is kind of lame on this card. So it's interesting for its game objectiness. Treasure theme. Cute for commander. Junk in 60 card format. Treasures are quite powerful, they give you extra mana. Minsk Beloved Ranger. Naya, legendary creature, human ranger. ETB create Boo, a legendary hamster with trample and haste, which is ridiculous because a small cute hamster has trample and haste. X until time. The important free. The important part of this card to me is that it is a sacrifice outlet in Naya colors, which typically kind of doesn't exist. I think so. Actually kind of poggers, and that's like you get a free and you get a 1/1 and then you have a sack outlet, because you can choose 0 x0 and then you get to, you get to sacrifice your creatures with your avatar less airbender guy. So maybe that's useful because sack outlets are typically black, so for that reason give it 2 out of 5. Kind of a new like type of an effect in the colors, right? I think. Sack outlet in Naya colors. It's also a sack outlet though. Yeah, but if it is a sack outlet for killing, then it is a sack outlet. This isn't a KW card. Well, if you would have listened to what I said, then it would have been clear. Eye of Venka, 2 legendary artifact. ETBs, you draw a card and you lose 2. You may pay 2 in your upkeep. If you do draw a card and you lose 2 life. It's kind of costly. Basically playing it is as works as activating it, which is fine. Which is good because otherwise it will be way too slow. But you don't have to pay anything up front. 2 mana and 2 life. Kind of a hefty cost, but I don't know, maybe it's gonna be useful in some way. It's colorless, so it maybe fits in some decks where you couldn't do other forms of card advantage. We played with Tron lands. Like in the Eldrazi Tron. They play the book to draw cards. This draws cards repeatedly, and you don't have to pay up front. Instead of gaining life, you lose life though. So yeah, 2 out of 5 for Eldrazi Tron. Maybe you would really like to. Probably not even very good there though. Also a Lurus card. Yeah, but I can't imagine a Lurus deck really wanting to play this. Almost strictly Vor's book. Well, you get your first card up front immediately. So you do pay 2 less mana than you do for the book. Alright, and we're done with spells. Now we can talk about the lands, and there is a cycle of 5 interesting lands. 1 color fast lands, but maybe we should call them super omega hyper fast lands, because they do enter untapped only if they are first or second land. We also have a Manland ability, 5 mana, Care of the Frost Dragon becomes a 3/4 white dragon creature with flying until end of turn silly land. It's kind of like Colonnade, but smaller, but it can be untapped, which is, you know, a big deal. Especially that early game, it is the important thing to for lands to be untapped. If you're playing a monocolor deck, I think you might very well be interested in playing some of the on-color manlands in your deck, because they seem to be of a like pretty, not the lowest, but pretty low opportunity cost, and the payoff can be pretty huge if you flat a 3/4 6 mana 3/4 white dragon creature. Does hit reasonably hard, so I'm gonna give 3 out of 5 for this one. Playing off-color manlands with pretty 7 head, and off-color manlands, what I meant is something like a Mutavault, right? You probably don't really want to play Mutavault in, you know, many decks because the colorless cost is a bit too much, and this doesn't have that restriction, right? Then of the Bugbear land, same thing. 4 mana, 3/2 red goblin with making a tapped and attacking goblin. I think the red one is pretty good because the red decks seem to, you know, be the best mono decks most of the time. And this does look like an M. Hayashi card to me, because it even produces red, it does attack for 4 damage, it does leave something behind, it's pretty potent manland, right? It's like you can even get around the drawback of it entering tapped if you time your lava dart in some way. For mana Keck. Yeah, I mean, it's 5 mana total to activate. It is cheaper than the previous one, so that's also good. So this one I'm gonna give 4 out of 5. I think like it's probably the best card in the set. Red one is the better. Emo. Yeah. You can also get around the drawback by playing an Obosh Curve. Well, it's kind of bad with the Obosh Curve because you would like to play 3-drop on 3 and then it's stopped, right? But probably sequence it. I have no idea what's a blue Bugbear. Hall of Storm Gigantes. Same thing, 6 mana. Hall of Storm Giants becomes a 7/7 blue giant creature with ward free. It's Silly Land. 6 mana, so effectively 7 mana activation. Very big body. 7/7 hits quite hard. And a ward free ability in a deck, like in a blue manland deck, typically is going to play little creatures. So then having a creature that hits hard like this and that doesn't get just fatally pushed around so easily might be actually okay. Because it can be like easily destroyed when activated. You choose when to activate it, when you would like to block, etc, etc. It is quite costly though, and blue decks are more often going to be hurt more by the restriction of the land coming tapped after your first 2 ones, right? I think because you'd like to have your lands come into play untapped a bit more in the later game. Although being like, well, also being an untapped blue land early in the game is kind of awkward because oftentimes you would like an untapped non-blue for removal in the early game, and then blue for counter magic later, so if you would like to play other lands before this, it's also a bit awkward too, but it's good 3 out of 5 for being a, I don't know, I think one of the biggest mod lands up to date, kinda. A useful ability. 5 of the Eye Tyrant, black, 4 mana, 3/3 black beholder with menace, and when attacks, exile a card from the defending card's graveyard. I said no good, it's pretty low power level. The Hive of the Eye Tyrant, it's a pretty awkward ability to put on a land, like I'm not sure what it is supposed to do here all that much, but I think it's not gonna be very useful very often. At the stage of the game where you activate manlands. I think it's Hive of the Eye Tyrant seems worse to me than the rest. It might be better than the White Dragon, just being cheaper. In monocolor decks you might want to play it anyways because the opportunity cost might be low enough. So let's give it like 2.5. So let's give it 3/2. Like the other manlands. The standard Faceless Heaven might be still preferable to those. Actually, in general, we'll see. Land for Rogue deck against escape cards, that's actually kinda true. Lair of the Hydra, land, same thing. Green X until E of turn. Lair of the Hydra becomes an X green Hydra creature, still a land, X can be 0. You can't make it just die, but you can power a lot of mana to make it pretty big. This one is good in Titan, right? There was always an option to play Manlands in Titan. People never did that. I did think about it a few times, but it never struck me as worth it much. But that was also when we didn't have singular color manlands like this. And having a singular color manland that benefits from having a lot of mana in play, actually somewhat okay. Although you'd usually prefer Treetop Village, right? Well, this one comes into play untapped early in the game, which is like pretty huge game too, right? You can just play it and it's gonna be untapped. You can spend the mana immediately. That's a pretty big difference. And I don't know, we could try playing one in Amulet somehow. Try to fit it, not a forest for Castle Garenbrig, etc. But you know, that hasn't stopped people from trying. It could be a thing. Like, seems like similar to Turn Timber Symbiosis in Amulet Titan decks, really. In like how much value it gives to the deck, and it's pretty interesting. I think it's not terrible. Although it does, like, when you think about it, it does kind of have a vibe of a Lava Claw Reaches, which is typically like considered to be the bad one from the original Zendikar cycle, but also Zendikar, also Lava Claw Reaches doesn't pump toughness, so can be my Dungeon Master Daddy, yeah. Yeah, if it had trample, it would be of course better, but Not really expecting trample from a Lair of the Hydra. I give it 3 out of 5 too. I think it's like mostly on par with the other ones. Could also be played in like Vertex. Like a mana that you can sink the mana so far if you're ramping, then that'd be a big thing. I don't see Rogues being a tier deck post-meta TBH. Are you aware of the fact that the rotation doesn't happen until Innistrad, though? Because there is still 3 months. 3 months? 1, 2, 3 months of standard with the new D&D cards. And with Rogue still. Treasure Vault, Artifact Land, add colorless, XX sack, create X treasure tokens. So, you know, imagine the hypocrisy of keeping Ancient Den banned and releasing Treasure Vault and being like, oh yeah, no trouble, it's fine. Weird that you can't X equals 0 the green land, but you can sack this for nothing. Well, you can have an empty vault, but you can't just kill your Hydras in green because green is about life. Are people ever playing standard, or are you just waiting for the next rotation? The people do play after the original rotation for a month, then it's bitching about the rotation not coming. Hammer decks would poke for Ancient Den, okay. Is Chorus mana better than white mana? Yeah, in some places. So now you can play 8 artifact lands. They're untapped in Modern. The create treasure X treasure tokens doesn't really matter. Like, I assume it's trinket text. Doesn't matter, but you can try to play. I don't know. I can try again to play Darksteel, Citadel, this, and Mirror Enforcer. For the most part, in artifact lands, even the ones that are banned would not be particularly all that playable because they introduce more vulnerability to your deck than they add. That'll be kinda cringe, but we can try to do that. I don't know, let's give it 4 out of 5. 3 out of 5, probably closer to the truth. So like, I'm very excited to play Mirror Enforcer in general. Like, I don't think it's very exciting. I'm hyped for this plus Emery. It's a colorless land. You could have already played Darkseid Citadel, right? So there's not much difference. I think the Citadel is much better because the indestructible ability doesn't cost you extra mana and actually does something, while Treasure Vault's ability costs you mana. And like, you need to make 2 treasures for it to make sense, because you know you lose an artifact to make that, right? Well, Emery can cast a land. Yes, you can, Dexy. Emery lets you cast an artifact, but it doesn't let you play an artifact, so you can't play land. And that's it. Those are all the cards from the set that I found to be interesting, that I wanted to talk about. Which was not too many cards. I envisioned the set to have roughly no impact on Modern, which is also good because Modern Horizons 2 just released and too much would be too much. Like in this, I gave 4 to Tasha Serious Laughter, to Demily, and then of the Bugbear. And like Concealer of the Hydra, Trident, Amulet, probably Cut. Wish and some Comrex, Treasure Vault and Affinity. So a few relevant cards. And like some game object creators that not very poggers, Portable Head, Hall, which is also a minor player. What about the Werewolf Pack Leader? Let me look the card up. I didn't review it because it didn't strike me as playable. But I also didn't read all the cards all that closely. Green, free. Wow, green, free. You attacked with creatures with power total 6 or greater to send draw cards. 4 mana. Isn't a human? She's some kind of a lady. Mid transformation. 4 mana. Yeah, 2 mana free, sure. I don't think it's released on modern. Modern poggers. It's kind of a Yorvo card. It might be a Yorvo card for Pioneer, etc. or something, I guess. Probably not the worst as a Yorvo card, can draw cards. Yeah, I guess it gets 2 out of 5 for me. Good call. Alright, that's gonna be the review. Maybe there's some cards I missed, but probably not too many. And we're going to move to playing Modern now.